Alright, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing another beer from the Dogfish Head Craft Brewery, and they're out of Milton, Delaware, and this is their Wake Up World Wide Stout. So they're calling this an ale with a natural flavors. It comes in at 15.3% alcohol by volume, 70 IBUs at the time of review. This bottle is just over 2 months old, so this is the newest release from Dogfish within their Worldwide Stout series, and I'm here for it. So it's funny they say ale with natural flavors because on the side here they do mention all the ingredients. So it says malted barley, organic Nicaraguan Finca Terrerito cold pressed coffee, oat milk solids and hops, cinnamon and dextrose, along with organic maple syrup. So basically a morning beer at 15.3%. Like, yeah, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. So they have the danger cap on here, and it's interesting they actually list 15.3. Usually it's like 15 to 20%. Figure it out, right? Not with this one. It's the danger cap. How do they put this danger cap? I don't know. But imagine it's like this. This is the danger cap we'll go with. I have no idea. But anyway, really excited about this one. Why? It has maple syrup. It has cinnamon. It has coffee. It has oat milk. I'm going to pour it all in because I'm going to drink. This is my only beer today, and I'm going to drink the shit out of this beer as long as it's good, hopefully. So, yeah, anyway, a little bit of a cheat. We will see. So, yeah, so I'm using the Dogfish Head, their old school, like, this is like their like official glass from like 10 years ago. Don't get to use it that often because I don't drink a ton of a Dogfish Head, but I'm glad I've been able to use it here. So yeah, pitch black. It had about a half finger of a well, straight up brown colored head that is now dissipated to a thin film, probably because of all the adjuncts. Looks like a huge Imperial Stout at 15.3%. Let me see if I can I don't want to spill it everywhere, but there are sheets everywhere at 15.3%. You kind of expect it. Let's get a nose. Wow, that coffee is so in my face. Wow. Yeah. Honestly, it's like I'm smelling a glass of cold brew, like just straight up black cold brew coffee. It's a little bit of like a deep dark kind of chocolate, maybe like a 50% cacao bar, not really sweet. The coffee's definitely there. Mix it in with like the roasted malt, but more coffee than anything. There's a little bit of a spiciness. If I was doing this blind, would I say cinnamon? Probably not. I would just think maybe that's coming from, if I was doing a blind, maybe cinnamon. I'm not getting the maple syrup in the nose. There's a generic kind of sweetness that I wouldn't necessarily associate with maple syrup, but I could see it. I'm just not getting it specifically. Some fruity notes, dark cherry, plum, date, like definitely deep dark fruits, some kind of like dark stone fruits. What else am I getting? Molasses, a little bit of molasses. Yeah, so this to me, if I was doing blind right now, I'd say there's coffee in here 100%. I would just think like a big coffee Imperial Stout. That's what I'm getting from it. And it doesn't smell bad. It smells pretty fucking good. It just smells very intense, especially with the coffee. But it doesn't smell like it's 15.3% if that means anything. Anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. It's a big beer. You can tell it's a big beer. When I say 15.3%, maybe. As I'm letting it kind of let my palate get acclimated to it, big warming. Almost, it's hot. Dare I say hot in my chest, into the stomach. Like as it went down the esophagus, like you in stages felt like the alcohol warming. Go back for another sip. The body's pretty thick, but for 15.3%, shout out to a good friend of mine, a fellow beer tuber, Paul, over at PA Brew News, it's a bit thin. I would say this is like lower full to medium full. This is not straight on full. If I'm drinking something that's 15.3%, I want to almost chew it, especially if it's an Imperial Stout. I'm not chewing it, but it's not like, it's you're not going to drink this one and be like, oh, it still has a nice viscosity to it. It's just a little bit thin. Just a little bit thin. Another sip. So yeah, it's a bit thin, but like lower to medium body, medium full body. The mouthfeel has a decent carbonation to it. Has a nice smooth kind of sensation on the palate. But it's funny because it's so smooth on the second half of the palate. Everything's smooth actually about the mouthfeel. Like you're drinking, it's like, oh, this is a smooth beer. As soon as you swallow it, you get a big kick of alcohol into the chest, into the nostrils. It's almost like I'm breathing fire out. It's not that bad, but it's like, if I was doing blind, I'd say at least 14%. So it doesn't hide the alcohol, but I don't expect it to. Like it's 15.3%. You're going to notice that it's a big boozy monster. And I'm okay with that. It's just, I was hoping that maybe they hit it a little bit, but you know, Sadiq, good friend of mine, viewer of the channel, he likes his big boozy monsters. I think he'd like this. The taste, with all those adjuncts, I think I was expecting a bit more from this, to be honest with you. Right at the forefront, I definitely get the maple syrup, which was lost in the nose, but it's kind of a generic maple syrup, and it hits me right at the tip of the tongue. And I think all it does is kind of brighten up, which is a good thing. Be honest, it's a good thing. Kind of brightens up the palate, makes it a little bit sweeter overall, where the nose, it just was like coffee Imperial Stout. In the taste, I think the organic maple syrup's kind of hitting me, and in a way that like bumps up the sweetness a little bit, makes this a little bit more sweet in general, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's maple syrup in the taste. So it hits right at the front of the palate, omnipresent, bumping everything up. Right after that, I get a little bit of a sweeter chocolate, we'll say like a sweeter dark chocolate. There is a coffee roast, and it's almost like you have maybe a cream or a sugar, maybe just a little bit of cream, say, in your coffee as opposed to sugar, because it's not that sweet. But it has that like cold brew kind of feel to it. Slightly acidic, very, very slightly, like it's slightly acidic, not like a regular coffee. Yeah, so coffee, roasted malt, chocolate, that fruity dark fruit, that dark stone fruit type of thing, that plum kind of date, what I was getting in the nose, doesn't translate as much, as more like to me like a cherry. So more of a cherry than anything from the dark stone fruit vibe. It's a dark, like a sweet black cherry. And then right after that, as it continues to pass on through, I'm hit with a pretty big, earthy, slightly resinous hop tone. Like this is a little bit more hoppy than I anticipated. Don't get me wrong, this is not like a black IPA or big, rich, hop-forward Imperial Stout, but it's a little bit more hop-forward than I anticipated. I mean, it is relatively French. French? It's not French. Fresh. And it says, I thought it says on it somewhere like ages well. Maybe I just saw that on the website. But yeah, a beer like this is probably going to age well, assuming the coffee doesn't turn into that green pepper thing. But it has a little bit of like a resinous kind of tone from the hops on this, on the finish. Finish is slightly to semi-dry with a moderate bitterness. I'm actually thankful for the maple syrup because I think it's balancing it out. If not for the maple syrup, I think this would be like almost like a hop-forward worldwide stout, like, which some people might love. For me, with everything that's going on here, I appreciate the maple syrup kind of bumping up the sweetness. This is not too rich or too sweet for me. Something that a lot of these big beers can be, especially with adjuncts. Yeah, like I said, the alcohol definitely hits you on the palate through the nostrils. You definitely know this is a big beer. 15.3%, I would probably guess like 14-15% if I was doing a blind. So again, I don't think it hides the alcohol that well. You kind of know it. Know that it's a huge beer, but I enjoy this one. Is it amazing? I don't think this is amazing, but I get the coffee for sure. I think that maybe the that oat milk is producing that really nice smooth kind of finish and mouthfeel in general. I think that's kind of bumping up. The maple syrup's helping out with the sweetness. The cinnamon, I'm not getting at all in the taste. I thought that, this is relatively fresh, just over 2 months old. I thought the cinnamon's going to punch me in the face, and it's not. It's barely detectable. And on the palate, like actually in the taste, I really don't notice it. The nose, maybe a little bit. It was a generic spice. Not really getting the cinnamon. This is a nice sipper. Probably going to shout out to Sun Pump doing his job. Been raining all day here. But I think I'm going to sip on this one for like the next hour, probably. Maybe even a little bit longer. Just take sips, enjoy it. See as it opens up in the glass, as it warms up, because this was right out of my darker beer fridge at 52 degrees, probably like 55, 57 now. I like this. but I've had better worldwide stouts. I've had better vintages. I still haven't had a couple within the series. I think didn't they do like a vanilla one? They did a regular barrel aged one. I have the Utopias one. I need to review that at some point. It's over a year old now, but it's kind of aging it. Anyway, not much more to say about this one. Do I enjoy it? Yes. Is it amazing? No. I think I would love to buy another bottle of this one at age and see how it does with age. You might, the cinnamon is probably going to be less noticeable, and I don't even know what to begin with. I think the coffee might kind of fade or maybe turn into green pepper kind of characteristic you get with faded and old coffee. But I don't know, maybe this will turn into something a little bit more cohesive and in my wheelhouse. But as is, I enjoy this one. So Wake Up World Wide Stout from Dogfish Head. I'm being very critical because a beer like this you kind of want to break down. But I do enjoy this quite a bit. I just don't think it's one of my favorite within their series. So I'm going to give this a high 4 or 5. I'll go 4.1 out of 5. I think that's where it lands. I think to get into like the 4.25 or maybe even the low 4.5 range, I want cinnamon to hit it. I maybe want just a little bit more emphasis on the maple syrup, like actually taste the maple syrup. Little bigger body. There's a couple things that I think for me personally would make this better. Price point availability, $9.99 a bottle and $40 a 4-pack. That's kind of the going rate in my area and has been for a long time for these worldwide stout beers. And no different with this one. I paid $10 a bottle and it's a 15.3% huge Imperial Stout with a bunch of adjuncts. I'm starting to feel it. I've only taken maybe drank like 4 ounces of this. I just starting to feel it. I'm a lightweight now. And availability, wherever you see Dogfish, again, listen, first beer of the day. By the time I'm done with this, I'm probably going to be in a quarter somewhere, just out cold. But yeah, wherever you see Dogfish Head, you should see this one. And if you've had this one, post in the comments. I'm such a lightweight. I mean, but drinking like a third of this or like a fourth of this at this point for me is just something I don't do, and man, I'm feeling it. But anyway, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this one. I think it's a good variant, but far from my favorite. And again, I'd like to see this one age. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. I know there's going to be a couple of viewers of the channel that are like, Joe, you look smashed in this. I do, because I feel it right now. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I mean, that's the 12-ounce line. I probably have only drank 2 or 3 ounces and I feel hammered. Taking bigger sips though, that coffee really hits. Very prominent, boisterous, punching me in the face. Maybe the smaller sips thing I shouldn't have done, but here we are. Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Till the next one. Cheers.